And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Bassel.
I'm Z Garcia. Hello.
I'm Roy Kennedy.
I'm Mike Felicio. Hi there.
Today we're looking at Tidal Blades, this massive game. Now realize this is the deluxe version. The actual game is half this size. But this is what we have. We played this game during the Kickstarter campaign. Me, Z, and Sam did. It's, as far as I can tell, it's changed very little from that point in time. I mean, obviously the production's quite good now. But that being said, let's take a look at the game. I'm going to give you a bit of an overview because there's a lot going on in this game, and then we'll be back.
So first of all, realize that you're looking at the deluxe version of the game. There's a lot going on here, and my goal is to just give you a general overview of how the game works. Each player has a character which will come with a matching figure and different discs, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But you also have these different dials here where you start with synergy, resilience, focus, and spirit. And as the game goes by, the goal is to move these dials up. Now that does a couple things. As your dials get to certain spots, you're going to score victory points at the end of the game. But also each of these cards is going to give you bonuses. The stunt power, as the game goes by, you'll get a stunt card. So here it says when you fight a monster, upgrade a number of dice equal to your stunt trait level. Well, my stunt trait level is 1, but if I get it up to here, my stunt trait level is 3. So here, for example, it says gain the rewards shown up to your spirit trait level. These are one-time use cards. They get more powerful the higher your stunt power is. When you do different challenges and things, you're going to be able to roll a certain number of dice. You can always eat a piece of fruit to roll an extra die, but the more dice you have, the higher your focus, the more dice you can roll without having to pay the fruit to roll the extra dice. Each character is going to come with their own set of cards. So for example, here's Cayman's cards, and you can see there's different artwork on all these. These are special cards that are very unique to each character. At the beginning of the game, you're going to draw 3 and pick one to keep. But as you move up on here, you'll have the opportunity occasionally to draw some cards and keep them as the game goes by. And you're going to have up to 4 of these cards in play. And then resilience, at the end of every round, players, when they've used dice, are going to be able to bring some of them back. And the higher this is, the more dice you're going to be able to bring back for free. At its core, this is a worker placement game. And you have a figure in each round of the game. You're going to be placing that figure along with its disc on different areas on the board. So if, for example, I want to put this alligator out somewhere on the board, I will place them on one of the many different spots. There are many spots where only one person can go, and there are spots like this one where multiple people can go. When you go there, you also put a disc of your color there to show that nobody else can go to that spot unless there's a special power or something. There's a lot of spots on the board, so I don't want to get too hung up on them, but some of them will give you specific dice. Some of them let you draw the stunt cards, which I've already talked about. So when you go to a spot also, I should mention that not only do you get what's shown on that spot, but you also do what's in that whole area. So in this whole area, for example, you draw a stunt card. So if you go to this spot, you would get 2 of those cards. In this area, you get the different things here. The fruit, which, by the way, just so you know, we painted our leaves green. That's why they're like that. They're all orange. But here you can take the first player marker to go first in the next round. And here you get a couple of shells. But either way, you get to move this boat. And as you move this boat, you're going to get the rewards equal to how it travels around the board. Down in this spot here, you're going to be able to use fruit, buy these market cards, and spend that much fruit to get a card that will give you a benefit. So for example here, I get 2 more of the basic dice. And up here in the Citadel of Time, this is where you will get more challenges or get different resources that are available. Challenges are the heart of the game. When a player goes to a specific board in Chronoseum or the Lamarca Stadium or the Droska Ring, you can complete a challenge if you have a card that matches that challenge. Players are going to have starting challenges, but they're going to get more of them as time goes by going to the Citadel of Time. When you play a challenge card, that challenge card has a required number of symbols that you must get, with optional symbols that you may get. Rolling these symbols is going to allow you to move up clicks on your wheel, like I mentioned earlier. And each of these symbols can also only be attempted in the place where it shows. So this shows the Lamara Stadium, so you would have to be in there to even be able to attempt this challenge. The game revolves around dice, and you have these regular dice, and players will start with these dice that they're going to be using that show the various symbols needed to be rolled for the challenges, as well as a wild symbol. But as the game goes by, you'll be able to upgrade your dice, and you kind of go in one of two directions. So I upgrade here for the different blue symbols. They'll roll more often. I can upgrade that to get symbols that actually I can roll aside, and it can be one of two symbols, and then you can go even farther than that, and you can upgrade into one of two different sections here to the final level where there are sides with two symbols on. And then you can go the other direction with the red and orange symbols. And so as you get new dice and upgrade dice, you'll be able to use them, but sometimes there's different instances, for example, when you fight a creature, where you will lose dice and then you'll have to come back and get them again. So when you try to attempt the challenge, so let's say I'm trying to attempt this challenge here, players are going to roll dice. So let's say I'm allowed to roll 2 dice. I pay a fruit to roll a 3rd die. And I also will always roll this die here, which can cause problems for you. So I'm going to roll this die, and I'm going to see what I've gotten. Hey, I got one of the shields I need. I need 2 shields. This here, though, is going to cause problems for me, so I need to cancel that unless I pay a shell. Each person has a shell shield. You can put 6 shells on it, but what you can do is you can put a shell there onto that shield to block one of these X's. Once there's shells on the shield, you can spend those to set a die to any face, 4 of them, or 6 of them, to refresh 2 dice. Because on your player board itself, when you use dice, they go to spent dice, and you can use the resilience to bring them back if your resilience is high, but you still might not have enough time to get your dice back to the dice that you can use for challenges and fighting monsters. If you can't use a shell to block that, you'll permanently lose one of your dice. Fortunately, I had a shell, so now I can roll, and I rolled another shield. I've now completed the challenge. I have another X. Fortunately, I have another shell to block that X, but I would like to move up my wheel 3 times, so I'll roll again. Oh no, I rolled another one of these and I didn't get it, so I spend a shell here. I roll again. Okay, I got what I needed, and I spend another shell to block that X. I'm running out of shells, so I'll need to get more of those if I want to do another challenge. But meanwhile, I've accomplished this challenge, which is going to be worth 2 points at the end of the game, and it's going to allow me to click up on my resilience wheel 3 times. And as you attempt harder challenges, and some challenges even have multiple different symbols that you need, you're going to get extra points or extra notches on your wheels for going up in those challenges. Winning challenges in the spot where the judge is, and the judge will rotate around from turn to turn, will allow you to be moving up on this champion board. Champion board's pretty handy because you get leader bonuses of points each round. You'll get points as far as you can get, and at the end of the game, whoever's the farthest on this leaderboard will get points. And finally, there's also monsters that you can fight. You can go here to fight monsters. Here, when you spend dice, you will lose them. But if you go here and fight, you'll be placing your tokens on the symbols that you roll as you fight the different monsters. This is important because at the end of different rounds, people who don't fight monsters could possibly suffer a negative bonus. And if you do fight them, you're the one who kills them, you'll get bonuses for doing so. And at the end of the game, you get a point for every damage that you do to monsters. The game is going to take place over 4 rounds, and in rounds 2 and 4 here, you're going to get an extra disc in each round that you'll be able to use in the game. And at the end of the game, there's different points for completing challenges, how far you've gotten on your wheels, how far you are on a champion board, how many times you hit the monster, and whoever has the most points is the winner. There's a bunch of other rules. The dice get harder That danger dice get more difficult as you get to different rounds, how the judge moves, what all the different cards do. But hopefully there's enough to give you an idea of how the game works. For components, again, realize we're looking at the deluxe version here. Everything fits beautifully into this box here. We have the almanac, which has a lot of the rules. Actually, unfortunately, this is one of those games where you can't just use the rule book. The almanac has what the spaces do, which are pretty critical to you solving this game. Nice dice tray, game trays, of course. These are the components that we actually don't use that are in the base game here. Really nice miniatures. This is really cool. Everything fits in here, although I gotta say, it's kind of a puzzle to almost figure out how to fit it in. On the side of the box here, it shows you a bit of how to fill it in, but I'm telling you, I really kind of wish this was a separate thing because it's kind of hard to pick up the box. I'm also personally not a fan of this long box. There's no reason it needed to be long. It could have been a stacked, bigger box, and that's just easier to carry around. And if there was a bigger box, I would have liked there to have been like a mat in this or something for a board for the game. But I'm nitpicking there. The components other than that are absolutely incredible.
Okay, so as I said, the components are fantastic, although I would like to briefly complain. I personally don't like the size of this box at all.
Right.
And these guys have heard me complain about this a lot. It just bugs me, it didn't have a board. All those pieces to set up everywhere, it should have just been a board. It's not like where they are mattered at all. And I guess maybe they were trying to get the idea that they're islands, but a board could have still done that. If they ever make a playmat for this game, I'll be the first in line to get it. So other than that, I think the production is like mind-blowingly good.
It does lead to it's a table hog, and that's partly because these separate pieces of cardboard are overly large for what they really need to be. They're being very forgiving with the artwork, right? Like these fairly large boards basically have 3 spots where you can put a little dude. Like that's all it is. And then there's a lot of artwork. So it's a table hog for sure. I don't like that, unfortunately.
And you didn't like the rule books, right?
I thought the rule book took some getting used to. I'll put it that way. And I will say, Tom, there's a decent amount that changed from the original game. Some good, some bad.
Man, come on now.
I looked it up. I kind of went back and saw what they had done. I looked through the Kickstarter for updates, even though I did not back the game. I mean, I just kind of went back and looked. I'll mention quickly one thing they changed, which I think is a solid change, one that I'm not so sure about, but I understand why they did it, okay? They added that the push your luck circle to the cards. The what do they call that? Push it, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Great idea. I think it's nice. I think it gives you one extra thing to go for if you can, but if you don't make it, it's not a loss. Solid idea. I enjoyed it. It adds to the push your luck feeling in the game. One other thing they changed is they made the game go from 5 rounds down to 4. The game was too long. It was consistently over 2 hours, that the designer said, and so they brought it down to 4. You could still play 5 on the flip side of the board, but it's officially 4 rounds. Okay.
Gotcha.
Which feels like not enough rounds, and yet really long still. And I'll come back to that as being really at the end of the day my main issue. Okay, I'll come back to it.
So what did you all think about the theme?
I thought it was cool. I thought the art, how it all came together with the theme, I thought it was very interesting. I'm definitely more excited about these games that they have the Euro mechanics and stuff like that, but they have a lot of theme in there and then let you feel like you're doing something, you know? You feel like you're trying to race your rivals and things like that, and you feel like you're actually trying to fight off monsters a little bit with the dice mechanics and the way that stuff works. So I thought the theme was great.
Yeah, I felt like on the front of the box, they put art and world building by, I think, Mr. Cunnington. And I think that's a really good way to put it, because I think this does have this feel of this world that's been created. I really enjoy it. Obviously, the art is gorgeous, and the components play a big part of that. But that helps with the mechanics. I mean, because the first time I played the game, I was getting so caught up with the mechanics that I didn't get that immersion. But on subsequent plays, I grew to enjoy and appreciate that more.
I agree. I do have a little bit, there's a little disassociation between you are doing tournaments, going to the arena, riding a jet ski, and yeah, ha-ha, and then also fighting monsters trying to encroach on your world and destroy your existence.
Sure.
I'm paraphrasing, right? But
but that's a very anime thing.
It is.
I guess it is. I like the tournament part, the theme, that theme. I think that's great. The judge is there, and you're going to impress him with some crazy action you do. He's like, yeah. The monster thing doesn't jive for me with that theme. The arena thing I really like. The monsters doesn't quite work as well for me, but mechanically I understand why it's there.
Yeah.
The game, I got this part 1. The whole thing says part 1, right? So it's part of the world building. And this shows art, and it has a story. Wow. I did not read all the story, but I read enough of it to get the grasp, and apparently the tournament's almost interrupted by these monsters in a sense. That's why that's there.
Okay.
The writing is okay. It's not bad. I know bad writing, but it's not like amazing writing, and it's almost a kid's world, if that makes sense. Like I could see this, and I don't mind that. I think the theming of all this, it feels very colorful and bright because we have a lot of dark games these days.
Sure.
This is the very opposite of grim dark.
I agree with that.
Very much.
All right, so the theme and components, great. It's going to attract a lot of people to play it.
Sure.
This game is, at the end of the day, a game that you go into, you're rolling dice to do challenges. It's a worker placement game, but that worker placement is to get the stuff you need to do these challenges. That challenge is a huge part of the game.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on those challenges?
The challenges are so much a huge part of the game that one issue that people might have, because I felt it, is that if I take a turn where I'm not attempting a challenge, I almost feel like it was a wasted turn. I don't think that's necessarily true, but it's such a vital part of what you're doing because that's really how you move up your different stats. That are going to not only get you points, but are going to allow you to get better dice and do other things that you need to do to be successful. That those challenges become something that you almost feel compelled to do every turn. But there is some nice decision points there because you can go for a smaller challenge because that's what you have the resources for right now, or build yourself up for some later challenges that are more, beneficial in the long run. So there is a little bit of that cost benefit that you can do on your turn. So I like the challenges, but they can almost become consuming.
I agree. I think I like the idea of throwing it down, rolling the dice, seeing if you can do it, using your shells to modify the dice, which I like. They do create some downtime.
Sure. Because
everybody's turn is both like a worker placement action and then an extra, dice fight, right?
Yeah.
But they're a fun part of the game, absolutely. I mean, like it adds to that feeling of I'm in a tournament. I'm going to try to complete this. I'm going on a baby quest, and maybe I'll get it. I like that.
Overall, worker placement isn't normally like my favorite mechanic ever, and there's so many games with it, but this is the kind of worker placement game that I actually really enjoy, that has the whole like risk management aspect of it, where you're trying to you're going to be taking these risks, fighting monsters, doing challenges. You have to figure out how to get the stuff to make those things not hurt you as bad. These dice are going to be a little bit random here and there. There's going to be a little bit of luck involved, but you have to try to set yourself up for success when you do them. And you're trying to figure out where to go to get the right stuff. It's like, I could do this challenge now, but maybe I should go get some more shells and things like that so I can mitigate that first. Or maybe I should get some oranges to add more dice to my roll. That sort of thing was things I was thinking of constantly during the game. And I just enjoy the way that it all comes together with a normal thing that would be very much like, you put your guy here and get this resources, and you put your guy here and get this. But it's all about those challenges and bringing that stuff all together.
Yeah, I like the challenges a lot. I feel like they're not as tense as they could be because it's so easy to mitigate dice. You can go in knowing you have enough stuff to get it done.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
That being said, I was a little thrown off. If someone else does really well on a challenge, it almost feels like they got handed a gift. It's almost like they got a few free points in this game just because they happened to roll nicely, and they didn't have to spend anything. They didn't have to go to extra spots. They don't have to rebuild when they're done. I don't know. I like the challenges a lot, but they left me slightly unfulfilled at the end. And
because
also,
lucky, you're saying?
Yeah, I know, and that's coming from me. I like dice and I like luck.
No, I agree with you. I think
but
you're
there's
right.
No real stakes on them at the end of the game. It's that like I don't know how many times I saw someone actually fail the challenge at the end. It's more of how long does it take for you to succeed. So that's what it came down to. But for me, the biggest part was they really were downtime. If Z's doing a challenge, I did not care. I was just like, when's it going to be over? I wasn't invested in your challenge. I don't
just
care.
Just me, right?
Whatever.
Specifically,
just Z specifically, correct. Yeah.
Oh, no. I'm all into Mike and Roy's moves. No, it's just when someone else is going, I just didn't care that much. I was like, and then if it came to my turn and I wasn't doing a challenge, it'd be like boom, boom, boom. And I go, oh, and I'm going to take 3 shells. I can't do a challenge in this area. Oh, now I got to wait another whole 10 minutes for my turn comes around again.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I was watching and actively paying attention every game I played where someone was going, like the location they were taking. As soon as I knew whether that affected my next plan or not, I could check out for the rest of their turn, which could be, like you said, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever, right? The other thing, by that very token, because those challenges are swingy and lucky, if you're taking a turn where you're just making sure that you don't bomb your next challenge, and that turn simply involves going somewhere, getting 3 shells, and there's no challenge you're holding for that, so you're done, that's one of 12 turns you get in the whole game.
Right.
Yep.
That feels like a massive waste. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then the
point.
next person goes, rolls, and gets it. That definitely feels like, wow, this game is at odds with both how it is, yet how little I feel I'm doing in it. Those things are just tug apart at each other, Not all the time. Some turns are great. Some turns you feel like, I go here, I get this, I move the boat, I get that, and I roll dice, I bust this guy's face. Great. But some turns bring to mind that idea of, wow, there goes one of my 12 turns.
Right. I could almost counter that, though, and say that adds a little bit of dynamism to the game, because there are times, you're right, and that's kind of what I was trying to get at, but I didn't articulate it as well as you just did, where you almost feel compelled to take a challenge every turn. And something else struck me that Tom said, where he was talking about this feeling of not having any kind of tension when you're going for some of those challenges because you can complete it. I think that might also feel more heightened because you compare that challenge with fighting a monster, which is essentially another form of a challenge, but you lose your dice there. And so I think you feel that tension even more with the monsters because even if you're successful, those dice are gone.
Oh, for sure.
And so those might be elite dice that you've built up over 2-3 turns. And so I think that also can give that little bit of a disconnect where some of these challenges don't feel as eventful.
So, Mike, what was your favorite part of the game?
My favorite part of the game is actually something we haven't brought up, but I have a feeling at least Z will, because I know he mentioned he liked it, and that's the character cards. I think that those really, really are the shining light in this game. There's a lot of things I like about it, but those cards, every single time I got to play one of those cards, I was excited about it. Oftentimes you'll get these kind of special powers, and 1 or 2 of them you're like, oh, that's great, and you're hoping you get it. Every single one of these character cards I was excited about having access to. And that's really cool when a special power always feels special. And that's by far my favorite part of the game.
Agreed. I agree with that 100%. It gives the game personality. It means I might pick a character over another one because I like their story. I like what they're bringing in that deck of cards. It absolutely makes me feel different from everybody else at the table. I get to do something you don't get to do ever. You know? You draw 2 and you have that moment of tension between, oh, these are both so good. Which one do I keep? Absolutely. That's my favorite part of the game, too. I'm very happy that's in there, and that really adds to the replayability as well.
What about you, Roy?
I really enjoyed the upgraded dice overall because each of these dice are very much like resources of a certain type, but they're kind of like random resources. You don't know exactly what you're getting, but each time you upgrade the dice, they're basically turning it into like a specific type of resource where you know what it's going to be. You know, you can, each time it branches, you're like turning the dice, like it's better at that. It's even better at that. It can now be 2 of that, you know? So you're basically turning these resources in, and then eventually, occasionally you'll go fight off a monster and use those resources where it's like, I know this is going to be this is going to help me move up on that track, this is going to be this is going to go there, and you hopefully get a ton of points from all of the monster combat, and your dice get basically wiped clean, and then you have to build them all back up again. It's very interesting, the dynamic of that, and I just like the way that it works where you're like focusing your dice as the game goes along.
I liked all that. Everything you guys said I also really enjoyed. My favorite part, actually, I think, is the upgrading. I'm a big fan of that. I like how the challenges you pick determines how you upgrade things. I enjoy, and I didn't mention this in the overview, but there's advanced and not advanced, and there's some cards that can let you go back on the track to upgrade, and there's different things. And I enjoy that by the end of the game, even if we weren't using the cards for the characters, we're fairly different. I might be good at getting my dice back, or I might be really, those action cards, what are they called? Anyway, the cards that give you an action might be really amazing because I've upped that track to 4. The stunt cards. I might be like a stunt man, you know. That's
yes, right.
Jumping off that into my final thoughts, I would give this game a 7 out of 10, which I like it. I think the production's cool. It's a fun theme. I like the challenges. It has a lot of similar vibes for me to Champions in Midgard. But it has a little bit less of the tension of that game. I think the downtime is more than I prefer, which is why my rating's not higher. And at the end of this review, that's kind of my whole focal point is I like the game. It's fun, but it feels like there's more box and components here than is required for the fun I could have with this. Now, yes, I know that the regular version of the game is half the size and all that, but even still, would still take all that table. There's a lot of stuff involved, and I'm not sure it beats out other games in its same time length and same amount of rules where you're flipping back and forth between 2 rule books. You know, there's not as much. So because of that, I can't say that for me this game isn't excellent. It's very good. I enjoyed it. I had fun, but it's a 7 out of 10. What about you, Roy?
Well, why don't I go in here because I have the same rating as you, Tom, if you don't mind. I'm also rating it a 7 out of 10 for a slightly different reason. I made this analogy to you guys when we played together, and it's the same thing. It's this idea of like this is like a really luxurious coat that is slightly ill-fitting. Like, I can't lift my arms past there, and it seems to not be quite tailored correctly. You know what I mean? And by that, I mean the game looks good, it's beautiful. Any one turn in a vacuum, you could look at and go, fun game, I like the I like what's going on. You take the entire game, and it feels like it's both too long and you did too little at the same time. And, like, you built up dice over so many rounds to then wipe them back. You might do that twice in the entire game. You might do that. Build, attack a monster. Build, attack a monster. Game's over. Also, that took 2 hours, though. You know what I mean? It just seems ill-fitting. It seems like it's fighting with itself. That's why I'm not rating it higher. But it is definitely great world building and a beautiful game. Yes, I don't dislike it. I just don't adore it,
I mean, for me, I'm actually a 7 as well for my score. I definitely enjoy the way that...
you for nothing.
I know, right? I definitely enjoy a lot of what's going on in the game. I love the way the dice work. I love worker placement that has those sort of elements in it and the whole risk mitigation thing. And I think it's a lot of fun. And upgrading, like Tom said, upgrading all your stats and then also upgrading your character to get all the special powers. All that stuff's really fun. But at the end of the day, for me, it's the downtime was one of the hardest things. Is like, everybody else is going, and I barely cared at all what anybody else was doing during the game. I mean, there's a little bit of interaction, like, man, I hope I can fight the monster before they get all the points from it. But other than that, like, I had a character ability as well that just kind of let me go in the same spots as other people during one of the games, and it meant that I didn't even really care where other people were going at all. So I was just kind of like, I'm just going to do my own thing. I'm just going to get resources and get dice and chuck dice, and a lot of that was fun. But at the end of the day, it's like it was a really long game for what the game was in total. So it's definitely a 7 for me. I enjoyed it, and I would play it again, but not as good as I feel like it could be if it was a little bit tighter.
And for me, I think based off of my rating, which is going to be an 8, I liked it the most of the four of us. So I don't think it's excellent, and I think the reason why it just misses that excellent mark for me are the things that you've stated, all three of you, that I can't disagree with. I do think that there are potentially some pacing issues. I think at 4 it's a bit long, especially if you are going to be very thoughtful about each of your turns. I'll put it to you that way. And so I think that is an issue. I also do think that there is potentially an issue with table space. I mean, there are some tables that you might have trouble getting it all out there. And so all of those are valid criticisms of the game. However, with that, I can't deny how much I've enjoyed every time I've played it. I really do feel like it does something unique in a crowded field, which is incorporating worker placement with dice in a way that does not feel exactly like something I've played before. Now, I know you mentioned Champions of Midgard, and I can definitely see that, but I feel like the upgrading of the dice integrated with the other aspects of the game make it feel unique to me. So it's a game that I want to continue to play. I feel like I still have more to explore, and so that's why I'm giving it an 8. I think I think we all think it's good. I just think I like it a little bit more than the rest of you.
Yeah. All right, well, that's Tidal Blades, Heroes of the Reef. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia.
I'm Roy Kennedy.
I'm Mike Delisio. Take care.
Have fun gaming.